Imagine this: Jerusalem. Over 2,000 years ago, the city is packed with people getting ready for a big festival. Crowds are buzzing with excitement, lining the streets, waving palm branches, and shouting praises. A man named Jesus is riding into the city on a donkey. Why a donkey? Because long ago, prophets said God's chosen king would come this way, humble, not on a war horse, but on a donkey. And now, it's happening. People shout, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." They believe Jesus is the promised Savior. Soon after, Jesus walks into the temple, the most sacred place in all of Jerusalem. But what he sees there doesn't honor God. Instead of prayer and worship, the temple has become a busy marketplace. People are buying, selling, and taking advantage of others. Jesus steps in and flips the tables. He sends the sellers out and says, "My Father's house is meant to be a house of prayer, but you've turned it into a den of thieves." He's not just angry, he's defending what's right. He's calling people back to God's heart. Over the next few days, Jesus continues to teach in the temple. He tells stories, parables that reveal deep truths about God. He talks about love, justice, humility, and the danger of pretending to be good on the outside while ignoring what's in the heart. Religious leaders don't like what they hear. They try to trap him with questions, but he answers with wisdom that amazes the crowd. Jesus speaks with boldness and compassion. Some are drawn closer to him. Others begin to plot against him. Behind the scenes, one of Jesus' own disciples, Judas Iscariot, makes a secret deal with the religious leaders. For 30 pieces of silver, Judas agrees to hand Jesus over to them. It's a quiet, heartbreaking betrayal. One evening, Jesus gathers with his 12 closest friends for a meal. He knows what's coming. This is his final time with them before everything changes. He kneels and washes their feet, something a servant would do, showing that real love is humble and willing to serve. At the table, he breaks bread and shares wine, saying, "This is my body, this is my blood. Remember me when you do this." Then Jesus looks around the table and says, "One of you will betray me." The disciples are shocked. They begin to ask, "Is it me?" But Judas knows what he has done. After that, Jesus looks at Peter and speaks gently but firmly. "Peter, tonight before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." Peter is stunned. "No, Lord," he says, "even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." Jesus looks at him with love, but he knows what's ahead. After the meal, Jesus leads his friends to a quiet garden called Getsamani. He asks them to pray with him, but they're tired and they fall asleep. Jesus walks a little farther and prays alone. He's deeply troubled. He knows what's coming: the pain, the betrayal, the cross. He asks God if there's another way, but then he says, "Not my will, but yours be done." Suddenly, torches flicker in the night. A crowd arrives, soldiers and officials. Leading them is Judas. He walks right up to Jesus and kisses him. That was the signal. The soldiers grab Jesus and arrest him. The disciples panic. One of them even swings a sword and cuts off a man's ear, but Jesus stops them. He heals the man's ear and says, "Am I leading a rebellion? Why come with swords?" Jesus allows himself to be taken. His friends run away. But Peter follows from a distance. He waits in the courtyard, trying not to be seen. It's cold, and he warms himself by the fire. Then a servant girl spots him. "Aren't you one of his followers?" Peter shakes his head quickly. "I don't know him." Later, someone else looks at him. "You were with Jesus, weren't you?" Peter denies it again. "I wasn't. I don't know what you're talking about." A third person speaks up. "You must be one of them. I can tell by your accent." Peter gets upset. "I swear, I don't know the man." At that moment, a rooster crows. Peter freezes. He remembers what Jesus had said, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." His heart breaks. he runs away and weeps. By morning, false witnesses lie about him. Leaders accuse him of crimes he didn't commit. Crowd is shouting, "Crucify him!" and Jesus is sentenced to die. Jesus is tired. His body is bruised, beaten, and bleeding. Soldiers had whipped him again and again. A crown made of sharp thorns was shoved onto his head. People around him are shouting, mocking, spitting. He struggles to carry a heavy wooden cross on his shoulders. Every step is painful. He stumbles and falls. A man from the crowd, Simon of Cyrene, is forced to help carry the cross. Finally, they reach a hill called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. Jesus is led away, carrying his cross through the crowded streets. The people watch some cry, others mock him. There, soldiers stretch Jesus out on the cross. They drive nails through his hands and feet. A sign above his head reads, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." Then they raise the cross up and leave him hanging between two criminals. It is cruel, it is slow, it is deeply painful. But Jesus doesn't curse his enemies. He doesn't shout in anger. Instead, he says, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." Below the cross, soldiers gamble for his clothes. Some people pass by and laugh. They say, "If you're the Son of God, come down from that cross." Even one of the criminals next to him mocks him. But the other says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus answers, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Jesus looks down and sees his mother, Mary. With care and love, he makes sure she will be looked after, saying to his disciple, "Take care of her as your own mother." Then, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, Jesus cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He is bearing the pain of sin, shame, and separation not just for himself, but for all of us. Time passes. The sky grows dark, even though it's midday. For hours, Jesus suffers in silence. Then he whispers, "I'm thirsty." A soldier grabs a sponge, dips it in sour wine, and lifts it to Jesus on a stick. Jesus sips it. And finally, he says, "It is finished." He bows his head and takes his last breath. The ground begins to shake, rocks split. The curtain inside the temple thickened talus torn in two. To make sure he's truly dead, a soldier pierces Jesus' side with a spear. Blood and water flow out. A Roman soldier, who had been watching it all, whispers in awe, "Surely this man was the Son of God." After 3 days early morning, the sun had just started to rise, and the sky was soft with the colors of dawn. Mary Magdalene and a few other women walked quietly toward the tomb where Jesus had been buried. They carried spices to anoint his body, as was their custom. Their hearts were heavy with grief. As they approached, they asked each other, "Who will roll away the stone for us?" The stone was huge and sealed the entrance of the tomb. But when they arrived, they were shocked the stone had already been rolled away. They looked inside, and Jesus' body was gone. Suddenly, 2 men in shining clothes appeared beside them. The women were frightened and bowed down low. But the men said, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen." The women were amazed. They ran back to tell the others. The disciples didn't believe them at first. It sounded too good to be true. Peter and John ran to the tomb. John arrived first and looked in. Peter stepped inside. They saw the strips of linen lying there, but no body. Jesus was gone. Later that day, 2 of Jesus' followers were walking to a village called Emmaus. A man joined them on the road and talked with them about the scriptures. They didn't realize it was Jesus. But when they sat down to eat together, the man broke the bread and suddenly, their eyes were opened. It was him. It was Jesus. And then, he disappeared from their sight. They ran back to Jerusalem to tell the others, "We saw him. Jesus is alive." That evening, While the disciples were gathered together in a locked room, afraid and uncertain, Jesus suddenly appeared among them. He said, "Peace be with you." They were stunned, but then Jesus showed them the scars in his hands and side. Joy filled the room. But one disciple, Thomas, hadn't been there. When the others told him, "We've seen the Lord," he couldn't believe it. He said, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and place my hand into his side, I won't believe it." A week later, Jesus appeared again while they were together. This time, Thomas was with them. Jesus turned to him and said, "Thomas, put your finger here. Look at my hands. Reach out your hand and place it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas fell to his knees and said, "My Lord and my God." Jesus smiled and said, "You believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." Jesus was alive, just as he had promised. He had defeated death. And now, a new chapter was beginning.